I just think this is a dangerous place for Chinese medicine to go to, because it's taking away the true nature of what Chinese medicine is. It's like saying, yeah, okay, you can practice in one way, but you need to talk about it in another way. That's, to me, that's like, it's hypocrisy. And I refuse to do that. Hi, I'm Marie Hopkinson and I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. This is a little bit like one of those hostage videos, it's the lighting and the setting, but I sort of do it a little bit differently to give people a bit of a different background so you can stare at my beautiful face. But look, this video is a bit of a rant about where Chinese medicine's going, and I've kind of been doing a few videos in this series, and I thought, like, I want to put forward a couple of ideas why I think this is a problem and why we need to say something about it as practitioners, because if we don't say anything about it, then your silence is taken as agreeance. I think that's one thing you have to think of just in life in general. Silence is, you know, can be like, there's some things where if you're silent, and I don't want my silence to be taken as agreeance on this topic. So, and look, I don't have to have a say about every single thing that happens, otherwise you go nuts. But, and I don't have a say about everything, but this is something I do want to have a say about. And so what am I really saying here? So what is happening with Chinese medicine? It's something I think people need to understand, is that Chinese medicine is a different system of medicine to Western medicine. And it's great that we've got registration. And somewhere along the line, I think a lot of people, including myself in Australia, thought that by having registration, that would be the same thing as recognition of our profession. And I have made another video which goes into a bit more detail about that, but it's not recognition of our profession. In a way, it is recognition that our profession can do harm to people if they're not properly trained in it. And I guess in a way that is recognition of the power of it, the recognition of the power for it to do harm. But by way of us being recognised, or and registered with AHPRA, AHPRA, the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Authority, what they've done now is they're imposing restrictions on how we talk about Chinese medicine, how we advertise Chinese medicine, which is essentially how we talk about Chinese medicine, that it needs to be talked about in a Western medicine way, when it's not a Western medicine system. But what gets me annoyed, agitated, frustrated...
You ain't got the answers.
Bro, I'm asking you
You
a
ain't been
question.
doing the education.
Bro,
You ain't been doing the education.
And makes me want to have a say about it, is that saying, well, it's Western medicine are asking us to prove Chinese medicine, a different system of medicine, through a framework that's not our framework. And so in order to prove something through a double-blind or a randomized blind placebo-controlled trial, that system entails that you treat everyone the same. And that system entails that you minimize things down to the very last variable. And you control those variables, right? You don't want extra variables in the scenario. And so in order to prove that acupuncture or prove that a herbal formula for a particular condition works, that's not how we treat patients. And my concern is, one, for the future of Chinese medicine, I see this, it trickles through, through practitioners. If they're told that's how you have to talk about it, then is that how you practice it? Now, we're not being told that, that's for sure. Like AHPRA has told me personally that we're not telling you how you have to practice. We're only telling you how you can talk about what you do, because we don't want you to mislead the public. That's their catchphrase. We don't want you to mislead the public with your if there's no evidence, and in their mind, what's the appropriate evidence? And to me, I can understand that if you open the door and say, well, you could use the Shanghan Lun or you can use the Neijing as evidence, like those texts are open to interpretation, and just because it says that there's a treatment for something in there Does that mean that that treatment works? Does that mean that that treatment's effective just because they've written a treatment down for something? I understand that it's not that kind of evidence, but it's imposing a different view. And that view then trickles into people's minds, practitioners' minds, students' minds, about how they should go about practicing. And so they no longer, in Chinese medicine, is basically, I see it sort of drifting further and further away from the individualized approach and more towards this kind of standardized approach that would mimic the research trial sort of thing. And I can understand from a perspective of, one is money. Like, it's hard to get money for something if you can't prove that it works. And so, yeah, if there's money to be made in something, the first stage is proving that it works, and like with this cold hard evidence proof like that, and that's part of it. But also, it's just it just requires a greater way of thinking and a different way of thinking, and a deviation from the normal standard to in order to look at how Chinese medicine works. And it is a very difficult task to prove in that way, because there's so many things that we treat with a patient, let's say, because we're not treating one condition or one symptom. If a patient comes in with things, so for instance, a good example would be, it's common for me to see a patient that complains of one thing, and that is in your intention as a practitioner, that is what you focus on, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to mislead people or say, oh yeah, we'll treat your foot pain, and really we're not doing anything for that. We're mostly focusing on their digestion and not telling them about that. That's not what we do. But in a roundabout way, by looking at what the patient needs, discussing that with them, and then we might do a treatment that focuses on that foot pain, but in a roundabout way. Let's say next week they come back and they say, oh, did you do anything for my gut? Did you do anything for my headache? Because I came back after last week, I didn't have blah, blah, blah. Sometimes patients don't even tell you the symptoms that they have. And then for them to come back and say, oh, those symptoms have lessened now, or those symptoms have changed now. Did what you do affect that? And so that in itself is the true nature of that holistic approach of basically getting a person, and if we increase the functionality of their body, which that's truly what Chinese medicine is supposed to be doing, then surely lots of things in their body should change, not just one thing should change. Now, things do take time to change. Some things take longer than others, and things like that. And quite often I might tell patients that if I know about that. So let's say a patient comes in, they've booked their appointment because they've got chronic headaches that they've had for years and years and years. And they might not have a headache every day, but let's say they get headaches, frequently or enough to make an appointment about it. And they're like, well, I just finally want to kind of, try Chinese medicine for this. And then in the course of the consultation, you realize they're getting a cold or a flu, and they've had that for like 2 or 3 days. They've got a bit of symptoms of that. Well, that cold or flu is more likely to resolve quicker than the headache situation. And sometimes there's no way around having to focus on something before you focus on something else, because that's needed. And if you gave, especially with herbs, if we give you herbs that tonify you when you really need harmonizing or you really need something cleared, then that tonification treatment will make you worse. So there's a lot of Chinese medicine styles that would reflect that, and we would discuss that with patients first, so they're informed about what's happening. What I'm getting at is that is a holistic, a functional holistic approach, and you can't test that in a research trial, like that individualized nature. You could test it within Western medicine, within the Western medicine framework, but it would more fit under qualitative research, not quantitative research. The qualitative research is like the in-depth kind of study that's done, like let's say a patient's report, like you ask people how they felt afterwards, and you can still obtain the evidence in an objective kind of way, but you're not going to come out with an outcome saying 69% of people were, experienced pain relief, or 70% of people, experienced a better result than using pharmacological drugs or whatever you're testing it against. You're just not going to get that statistical information. as clearly. You can use statistical analysis on qualitative data, but just Western medicine doesn't. There's no way to get you to use a placebo. It's not a randomized control trial. So what I'm getting at is I just think this is a dangerous place for Chinese medicine to go to, because it's taking away the true nature of what Chinese medicine is. And I don't see people really standing up and saying anything about it. I mean, I see a few people maybe doing that, but I don't, like, it really just, it's like saying, yeah, okay, you can practice in one way, but you need to talk about it in another way. That's, to me, that's like hypocritical. It's hypocrisy. And I refuse to do that. So I don't put shit on my Facebook page for my business like, oh, study shows 21% of people felt better with this randomized control trial for migraines, whatever. Like, you know, I don't go around my Facebook page putting that stuff on there, because that's not how I practice. I don't treat people like a fucking machine system that's pumping out people out of a research trial. I don't treat patients like, you know, numbers in a research project. I treat the patients like Chinese medicine intended it to, like individually assessing their pulse diagnosis. And it doesn't mean that there's not a systematic approach. It's not mystical or just at the whim of what the practitioner feels like on that day.
Around to that in my own good mystical time.
Hey, oh, today I feel like using, you know, stomach 36 a lot, so I'm just going to use that point, or something like that. It's not whimsical at all. There's a true systematic, thought out approach of how we do what we do, how acupuncturists use acupuncture points, how herbalists use herbs, why they take herbs out, what dosage of herbs we use. It's very systematic and thought out, and it depends on the style of practitioner that you see, but particularly for the style I do in herbs, it's very systematic. And look, there's lots of different styles in Chinese medicine. And so it's important that you understand that your practitioner has a particular style. You might go from, you know, to two different practitioners, and they have different ways of treating things, different ways of going about them. But those styles are rooted in, should be rooted in evidence. And the evidence comes from like the years of practice and the lineages that practice those systems of medicine, of Chinese medicine. So, yeah, look, I would hate to see that stuff be lost in Chinese medicine. So I think it's important that we get this information out and just let, that patients know and people know. Because at the end of the day, what happens is patients Google acupuncture for plantar fasciitis. And that's what they want. They've got plantar fasciitis, so they've already got the diagnosis. Now, for most people, they've already got the diagnosis. Lots of patients don't use acupuncture or Chinese herbal medicine as their primary healthcare treatment. They use it because they've got a chronic health problem. They already know about it. They have a diagnosis. They've tried Western medicine. That hasn't worked, or it hasn't fixed up everything that's wrong. That they've still got residual symptoms there, or it's treated a certain percentage of it, a certain amount of it, and they're looking for another approach. They're the majority of patients that come and seek Chinese herbal medicine or acupuncture. And then you do get people that are hard and fast, like that's all that they use. But they're not the common sort of people. Those people don't need convincing. They just, if they're sick, they go to their Chinese herbalist. If they're sick, they go to their acupuncturist. They don't wonder, oh, could acupuncture help that, or could it not help that? They just go to them. And sometimes you have to turn those people back to Western medicine and say, hey, this isn't something that we would normally do, or you have serious, you know, pain here. You need to go and get that investigated by Western medicine as well. You can still use Chinese medicine along the way, but for some people, they need to go to Western medicine as well, and at least get a diagnosis of what that problem is. So yeah, what I'm getting at is that the majority of people are Googling something, and now because of this kind of, I guess, gagging on our profession in terms of what we can say, I had to take a whole bunch of stuff off my website because of the APRA regulations. And like, I wasn't trying to be misleading in that stuff. And in those articles I'd written, they're proper blog posts, even stuff where I've said, this is how Chinese medicine goes about looking at a particular condition, because there wasn't what they deemed as sufficient evidence to talk about that. I was told, you know, you can't be talking about insomnia. regardless of how you talk about it. Now, you could go to a legal situation over that, and at the time I just decided not to, but now I've decided that I want to get this information out in a video format to actually explain to people in Australia particularly, this is what's happening. So if you love Chinese medicine, if it's helped you, it doesn't have to be an either or. I don't think we have to be in a fight with Western medicine at all. And you see Chinese medicine work so well alongside of Western medicine in China. Like it's part of, there's no question about whether it can work or not work, whether it's valid or not valid. It's really the doctors who are doing, the doctors who are busy are the ones that get results, and the ones that aren't busy don't have a big line for their treatments. You can see that, it's all an open plan sort of situation in those hospitals, and the doctors who get good results, the word of mouth spreads, and the patients just come and seek them out, and they'll wait all bloody day just to get an appointment with that doctor, just to be seen, because of the reputation. Now that doesn't happen if it doesn't work. Or the patients aren't experiencing some benefit of it. Like, that's the other thing. I mean, whether it works to cure something or completely get rid of it or help people get better or get them more along that journey of getting better, they're all things that it can help with, and that's all ways that it can help. So, I'm worried about our profession. I'm worried about where it's going. I'm not against research. I'm not against doing research methodologies and research trials and things like that. Like, if that's where people want to go with it, that's great, more power to them. But I am against us being forced to use that to talk about Chinese medicine, how it can help people in different situations, and not to the point where it's like in the world in which we live in now, then patients can sort, like, so let's go back to the plantar fasciitis patient. They're going to Google natural treatments for plantar fasciitis, and so then there's this big gap, because we're not allowed to fill that void, of all these other people that are unregistered practitioners now being able to write blogs and whatnot. Oh, here's how to massage. Here's a massage therapist telling people to do dry needling for plantar fasciitis, who's not registered, who hasn't done the training, versus someone like me who can't write an article about acupuncture for plantar fasciitis. And that's where we've gotten now. It's just that, to me, that's a bit of a ridiculous situation. So dry needling and acupuncture are so similar in terms of like a treatment like that in a musculoskeletal sense. For a musculoskeletal condition, the treatment of dry needling and acupuncture are very similar. The only difference really is that an acupuncturist is going to give you more than a dry needler will. So the acupuncturist can still give you that musculoskeletal based therapy. They can still do the trigger points. They can still do the dry needling type of techniques, and it's up to them whether they choose to do that or not use that. So that's a local treatment, involves like needling the local area. But they can also do other things, and they can look at, well, why isn't if you have a patient who has plantar fasciitis, let's say, and that's pain in the foot, if you're not aware, so the base of the foot, so imagine if this is your foot, so you've got pain right on the ball of your foot, and so like, instead of just going, right, okay, we're going to do this dry needling based approach to the base of the foot, an acupuncturist versus a dry needler, an acupuncturist may check the pulse and go, oh, this person's pulse is really weak and deep and thready or thin or wiry or something like that, very deep and hard to find or something, or faint. And so that might mean they've got an underlying deficiency, whereas a dry needler is not going to give two hoots about that. They're not going to check the pulse. They're not going to know. And so if you do a lot of needles around that area, that person their plantar fasciitis might get a little bit better. They might get some result from that, but they might feel super tired after the treatment. They feel so drained, and long term that's not the right approach for that kind of patient. Doing that kind of needling, maybe it's not correct for them. So and then you've also got patients, so this is more pushing Chinese medicine into a Western model than a true Chinese medicine model. So a true Chinese medicine model is like, you're a person who happens to have plantar fasciitis, but what else is wrong with you? What else is out of balance about you?